Hey guys, real quick, only 40% of our viewers are actually subscribed, so let's change that right now. Hit that subscribe button right below. The Cleveland Browns, the Fighting Shedeur Sanders. Browns 24, Raiders 10. Shedeur Sanders gets the win.
In a victory for rational discourse everywhere.
Victory for it's gonna man. If it wasn't a Thanksgiving week, if we had 5 days of shouty, I assume the shouty show people, they take the holidays off, they send in the backups, the replacements in there. Like Stephen A. takes a couple days, to gather up some Thanksgiving takes to unleash next week. But if we had a full week of discourse, it would be it'd be better.
Well, let me start with then
Browns 24-10. They move to 3-8. Raiders fall to 2-9. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me then start with an entirely presented without comment data point. 35 or more yard completions by Browns quarterbacks this season. Shedeur Sanders, 3. Joe Flacco, 1. Dylan Gabriel, 0. End of message.
That's it. I mean, also presented it without context. Shedeur, 11 of 20 for 209. 1 touchdown, 1 pick.
I guess let's work.
10.5 yards per attempt.
Let's work backwards with a bunch of data points. The other thing Shedeur did, obviously won the game, 1-0 as a starter. He becomes the first Browns quarterback to win their first career start since Bill Belichick was the coach of the Browns. They were 0-17.
Which is really the Ravens.
Right. They were 0-17 from that point. So certainly the new Browns, the rebirth, nobody had ever won their first start. Now, Baker Mayfield comes in relief and wins that game, right? And then lost his first start. Right. So it's not quite as clean as that. But Shedeur snaps a 17-game skid of Browns quarterbacks getting their first start and losing.
So high level, what did you see from Shedeur Sanders beyond the stats?
It's that first stat. It's the 35-yard completion stuff. Now, look, one of them is a swing screen to Dylan Sampson, who then just runs through the defense and scores. But the first bomb, the bomb to Isaiah Bond, right? Shedeur Sanders brings this is what we were saying, right? Shedeur has a flaw, Dylan Gabriel has a flaw, but they each have strengths. Dylan Gabriel's strength is he will operate the offense quickly, get the ball out of his hands fast, and mitigate some problems with the offensive line. Shedeur Sanders' strength is he can create big plays that aren't necessarily there. He can actually attack down the field and make some big plays that wouldn't have been there in this offense otherwise. And then the question becomes, what is the balance of that versus each guy's negative? Well, in this game, Shedeur's negative was not a big factor. His negative being his problematic relationship with pressure, how he handles the pocket, how he invites pressure and takes bad sacks. He didn't do that in this game. And in fact, he actually did well under pressure and turned some of those plays into these big plays. And that first bomb to Isaiah Bond, I think, was a really important play. Number one, it showed what he brings to the table for the Browns. They haven't had that all season. That's why he already has the 3 longest, I think, completions by any Browns quarterback this season. And then number two, the Raiders' game plan to start this game was, we are going to speed up this kid because he's already shown that he doesn't like pressure and he just implodes in the face of that last week. We're going to blitz him. We're going to make sure he's under pressure, and then he will collapse and he will wilt and we will win. And that play, they blitzed him. He escaped. He rolled to the right, and he hit a bomb over the top and almost scored a touchdown off the back of it. And the Raiders backed off. Almost, I think, from that exact point. They were like, all right, fair enough. Tip of the cap, young sir. We're, in fact, going to back off and hope we beat you just with 4. So he changed the game. Like, the Raiders came in there with the game plan to blitz the crap out of him and speed him up, and he would implode. And he didn't, and they had to change the way they were playing defense because of it.
That play was really impressive. Really impressive.
And by the way, it showed some arm that people have questioned whether he had or not.
It did. I mean, when we were breaking him down for the draft,
I always thought that was overblown, by the way.
I don't know if there's like pure high RPM zip or anything from Shedeur, but he had enough throws, even off platform. Off platform, he was kind of hit or miss, but he had that Hail Mary-ish type of play against Baylor, rolling to his left, which I thought was really impressive. And this one to Isaiah Bond was very impressive. And our biggest question with Shedeur was not the on-time throws or the accuracy. For me, it's against tight man coverage and it's pocket movement. The pocket movement and the way he handles pressure And look, he was a very difficult situation last week against the Ravens. You can say, LOL, 4 for 16 and 2 sacks for 27 yards. And there was truth in that, but there was also truth in the fact that it's a very difficult situation to start. Just like this week, there's truth in the fact that the Raiders are an utter disaster.
Yes.
But there's also truth in the fact that Shedeur Sanders stepped into the lineup. The offense had some big playability that they haven't had all season. They probably unlocked parts of the field that Dylan Gabriel was not unlocking. And Shedeur was only sacked one time. And I think he was only 20 passes. But I think there was a comfort level under pressure that we hadn't seen, and he just ticked that box for 1 week against the Raiders. And I think that first pass, the way you described it, kind of setting the tone for the Browns offense was huge. He hits a 33-yarder to Jerry Jeudy, who ends up fumbling.
Dude, what a...
And look, we don't need a 66-yard screen pass for a touchdown so that the people on both ends of the spectrum look at this, 10 yards per attempt. We don't. It's not helping anything. It'll play itself out over time. But I think overall it was a pretty good debut for Shedeur. And then you have the interception, which was just a pretty bad misread, pretty simple.
But the kind of play it's understandable, right? They dropped the guy off the defensive line. He was angling out,
opened his hips to go run to chase the.
He's angling out to go to the flat,
right?
And Shedeur thinks he's not a part of the picture, and basically Snowden just reads Shedeur's eyes and reverses track and goes back to where he's going with the ball. That's that's a classic rookie mistake, right? It's like that. All you did here, you read it right, and this was the thing we were saying about Shedeur. This is what I think is the coaching point for him last week going into this week is, look, you generally read things correctly and make good decisions. Trust your eyes and just put the ball in the air quickly. Don't hold on to the ball for an age and create problems, right? This is a good example of that, but it's also an example of what you need to learn, right? The adjustment between the college level and the NFL level. You read it correctly. You saw the guy drop off the line, and you thought he's heading to the flat to cover a guy over there, and therefore this is open. The mistake you made is, having read that, you then just stared at the guy you wanted to throw the ball to, and so the guy that was headed somewhere else has the NFL playmaking ability to go, well, I'm going to bail on that and go back to the play where he's going with the ball, and picked it off. So just a classic, that's the rookie error that you need to learn the difference between the NFL and the college. That's the Peyton Manning rookie interception streak thing. It's those are the plays you need to learn. NFL defenders make those plays. College players don't.
I'm with you. When you watch the end zone angle, I'm I kind of get what he saw.
Yeah,
was Snowden, who's by the way 6'7" in a
right. He's a defensive end
right.
Who's not you don't expect him to be adjusting mid play and making plays in coverage. He is opening his hips and moving his ass to the flat. So Shedeur's read is correct. He just unfortunately stared it down long enough that Snowden was able to change what he was going to do.
There were other simple plays in there, not like last week when there was, a few people saying,
now we're Shedeur apologists.
Now we're apologists. Look at us. We're on both ends of the spectrum here. On 3rd and 10 last week, his immaculate 5-yard check down that turned into a first down thanks to Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, another one. Despite all odds, gets the most out of his yards after the catch receivers. Last week it was Jerry Jeudy. This week it's Harold Fannin.
Oh, I didn't pull out the stat, but this was the best yards after the catch game in 2 decades. I don't know, it was something ridiculous. I don't know. There's some number out there. I can't imagine that's the exact it doesn't matter. But his actual check down to Harold Fannin on 3rd down, under pressure,
yeah,
to get it to Fannin, and then Fannin does a great job. Our friend Ross Tucker goes, I love Harold Fannin. I texted Ross. I'm I do too. Fannin looked great after the catch on a couple different plays in this game. But that check down, that's different than the one last week with Jeudy, where Jeudy does all the work. This was man, you avoided a sack.
Yeah.
And you turned it into at least giving your player a chance to make a play. And that was a great play for Shedeur Sanders, given the fact that I expected in this game him to make some throws, and even though the Raiders don't have a great pass rush beyond Max Crosby, still maybe get sacked 4, 5, or 6 times from what we've seen from Shedeur Sanders. So the fact that he only had the 1 sack, avoided the sacks a couple times.
That's
and made
the most
plays
important
down the field,
stat in the game.
Very impressive for Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, that's the most important stat in the game. He came out of this game with just 1 sack. Again, just because, and I think the Raiders did the right thing in backing off. I understand the urge to try and speed him up, but they blitzed him 5 times in the game, and 3 of them came I think, on that first drive, including that play where he hit them for the 60-something yard play to Isaiah Bond, and then they basically backed off for the rest of the game. I think that was the correct adjustment to make, which is I understand the urge to speed him up and make him panic, and that'll create bad plays. That one play, though, shows that that's dangerous, and actually, based off last week, if we just leave him there with four-man rush, he'll probably implode anyway. And the important thing is he didn't. They backed off, they rushed just four, and despite the four guys who are, they've got some pretty useful pass rushers up front, Shedeur did not implode in that kind of situation. So that's huge. That is his biggest weakness, and he did not put it on display in this game. And so you then end up evaluating his strengths, and his strengths were he brings a level of big play aggression and variance that none of the other Browns quarterbacks so far this season have brought. Joe Flacco didn't really bring it, and Dylan Gabriel certainly hasn't brought it. So that's all Shedeur could do, right? This was never he can't win the starting job based off this game. Certainly not long term. But what he can do is make you ask the question going into next week, do we give him the game this week, or do we go straight back to Dylan Gabriel?
I would rather not have. I'd rather give him another look. I'd rather not have one data point where it's against the Raiders and there was some good and some bad.
Because that's
even
the
if it's
other
more
thing,
good than
right?
Bad, it's like the Raiders are one of the worst teams in the NFL.
Because that's the thing. It's an incomplete evaluation because the Raiders are so bad that you're like, there's an asterisk there.
Yeah.
So
if I'm the Browns, I want to come out of this season with a quick evaluation on Dylan Gabriel, a quick evaluation on Shedeur Sanders, and then, oh, by the way, if I have a top quarterback available, I'm still probably going to draft somebody.
That's the point. All he could do in this game is make you ask the question of whether you should start him next week instead of Dylan Gabriel. I think he did that. I saw somebody tweeting out that he asked a couple of it was Ben Fox. Ben Fox? Is that his name?
Yeah, if that's who you.
He was basically saying he'd asked a couple of odds makers, what can Shedeur, and basically they were saying Shedeur, his job in this game is to prove that he can be a backup long term. It's like they're don't even think about him as a starter at this point. Like his only ceiling in this game is to try and show that he can be the team's backup in 2026. And I think that's probably true. But doing that, step one is play well enough in the game that going into next week, they say, let's give him the start next week instead of Dylan Gabriel, because Gabriel's basically already played himself out of that job. And I think he did that.
Anything else on Shedeur and the Browns offense? Quinshon Judkins had 2 touchdowns, really nice direct snap touchdown to in the tight red zone. That was nice. Anything else on the Browns offense before we get to what happened on the other side of the ball?
No, it looked, it was better than it's been at any point this season. So, look, I would give Shedeur the rest of the season, which, by the way, would also almost exactly match what I said was going to happen this season in terms of Flacco would get a month. Flacco would get a month.
Audio for that.
Dylan Gabriel would get the next chunk, and then you'd get a month of Shedeur Sanders to end the season. It's kind of where we are, more or less. But it was a noticeable improvement, right? This offense is more dangerous with Shedeur Sanders intact. Look, this is probably the high watermark in terms of how his play in the pocket is going to be, last week being the low watermark, and the average is probably going to be somewhere in the middle. But this game, to me, makes it worth giving him the rest of the season to see what you have. And again, the chances are what you have at best is probably going to be a backup, but you got your evaluation on Dylan Gabriel, and Dylan Gabriel did not make enough big plays, and that's why you're now looking at Shedeur Sanders or next week. And Sanders has made enough big plays, and now let's give him a run and see if his play under pressure or his relationship with the pocket is going to be good enough that you trust him as your backup.
Next few weeks, 49ers, Titans at home. Niners and Titans at home, then the Bears on the road.
And those are, no defense from the 49ers perspective, an improving defense from Tennessee's perspective, and a pretty good defense now from Chicago's perspective. So it's a ramp up in difficulty.
On the other side, Geno Smith sacked 10 times by the Browns. That doesn't include a busted play where it was like a 5-yard loss on a run. 10 times sacked for negative 77 yards. Merely 3 sacks for Myles Garrett in this game.
Yep.
Well on his way toward the NFL sack record, which I agree needs to happen in 16 games. Got to do it in 16. Can't use that 17th game, Myles. But well on pace. Geno Smith sacked 10 times. He made a few really nice throws down the field, by the way. But, man, this Browns pass rush. And it wasn't all – everybody's like, well, the offensive line was terrible. Everything was bad. It was all bad. The whole blocking scheme was bad. So much so, Chip Kelly did get fired after the game, offensive coordinator, the highest paid offensive coordinator in the NFL, fired by week 12 of his first season with the Raiders.
Yeah. Hell of a payoff for Chip.
I've got notes on all the sacks. Do you want to hear what I have to say?
All the sacks. Sure.
I have notes. We've got Grant Delpit completely unblocked through the middle.
Not great.
We've got a screen pass that just got you had a defender in the passing lane, so Geno ate it, so he goes down because he couldn't throw the screen. So that's like neither of those are really on the line. You have Devin. I mean, it's like when people say the line, I always think of the blocks from the offensive line, and trust me, they had some bad blocks up front.
Stone Forsythe.
But there's also just straight up unblocked rushers with no answers. There's miscommunications. There's canceled screens that become sacks. It's all bad. Yeah, Stone Forsythe, once they finally didn't give him help, had no chance. That's sack number 10. Devin Bush unblocked on play action for a sack. We have 3rd and 15. Geno kind of has room to step up and let it rip, and he just steps up into pressure. It was on its way with both defensive tackles on a little twist, but he just kind of stepped up into it. Should have ripped a deep ball. We've got the center completely bull rushed into Geno, which helped Myles Garrett's first strip sack.
Yep.
Around a double team, by the way. And when we go back and we say, look, Myles Garrett's been the same guy every year. He keeps winning and winning and winning, but this interior pressure, as Ross was pointing out, does help him get the actual sack totals. This is a good example of that. We have Isaiah McGuire unblocked after a chip on a play action where it was covered well, and Geno ate it. Isaiah McGuire sacked him. We have Cameron Thomas, who's been a pretty nice little rotational rusher for the Browns, absolutely destroying DJ Glaze on a bull rush as Malik Collins comes free on a stunt. That's sack like number 7. We have Garrett right around Stone Forsythe and a chip on play action. His bendability around the edge at his size, I know we've been saying this for nearly a decade now, but I feel like it's better than ever. So Garrett gets sack number 2.
An ability to get skinny.
Yes.
Like for a dude who's 275 pounds and like as broad as a house, his ability to slip between the tackle and the chip block is crazy.
Sack number 9 came with 4:06 left in the fourth quarter, and this is if you have NFL Plus or if you it's worth a look just for the comedy of it, or if you have the broadcast and you want to go back. I called it synchronized bull rushes against left guard and center. Both the left guard and center were bull rushed to the ground at exactly the same time. It's pretty comedic. I know they tripped over each other, but they were both getting popped. And that allowed Cameron Thomas and someone else jumped in for a cleanup sack. But the number of pockets. So like there were some plays where it was just linebackers coming free. There's other places where the walls were caving in from every angle on this offensive line. And then the last one, it's just a straight 4-man rush. No games, no tricks, nothing from the Browns. They just forgot to give Stone Forsythe help. And it reminds me of, you remember when Aaron Donald, it's like he gets 5 one-on-ones per game.
Yeah.
And he's going to win 3 to 4 of them. And Myles Garrett is at that point where he's never going to get one-on-ones. In this whole game, they were creative in how they were trying to stop Myles Garrett. He's just that good. They finally give him a one-on-one straight-up rush against Stone Forsythe, and he just whoops him one-on-one for another strip sack. Sack number 10 and number 3 for Myles Garrett.
And that's a great example of when you have a guy like Stone Forsythe as your offensive tackle and he's going up against Myles Garrett, you literally cannot give him a single play where he's one-on-one because Garrett will win and it will be an immediate hit. That's a remarkable handicap for an offense that has to deal with. Every single play we call has to have something in it that involves giving our left tackle help against Myles Garrett. Like that's problematic.
So now Chip Kelly's been fired. Pete Carroll's now fired special teams and offensive coordinators. He had never fired a coordinator in all of his time.
Really?
In Seattle. That was the story going around. And look, it's not all Pete. Like you talk about these things, right? It's interesting too. People said Tom Brady had a lot of hand in this offseason for the Raiders, whether that's the Chip Kelly move, whether that's Pete Carroll. There were rumblings. I don't know how true they are. You know, the rumblings are rumblings that they were debating between Sam Darnold and Geno Smith. Darnold was going to be available in free agency. Geno Smith they traded for, and that Brady liked Geno Smith. We'll see. I don't know. I don't know what happens going forward here, but the Raiders are an absolute mess right now.
They are disastrous. I mean, that was awful. Their offensive line is in bits. That's to a degree not their fault, although it's some degree to their fault. Like they drafted Ashingenti instead of an offensive lineman. But the injuries have really bitten deep. It's a catastrophe at the moment. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video.
Check the Mic is live Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, so be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss a video.
You heard the man. Subscribe.